Hello and welcome. I am Golden Duffy, and I am really excited for this episode of learning to create your reality. We're gonna explore so much today about your beliefs and the way you're creating and if you are actually exercising your power to create. We grow up believing that whatever our parents believed, whatever our teachers believed, we're just given this system, right? The system to follow and to believe in and to create from. And because our parents, did certain things and showed us different things, had evidence of their belief systems, because as you have a belief system, you will have evidence of that belief system because you create from it. We, bought into it. We decided it. We saw evidence of it. So there was so much proof to us. So why would we believe differently? A belief is just a thought we keep thinking. So as we decide in our life, as we take that position and no longer become people who just let life have its way with us, once we decide and really step into our power, that's where all of our creation power is. That's where we gain the ability to become these deliberate creators and literally create our life experience. Now, there's laws of the universe and there's the science of this stuff, and that's the stuff that does get me excited. I love teaching about that. But there's also this other side of it that's your spiritual connection, your ability to connect with universal forces or non-physical, you know, partners, as we'll call it. As we connect with those, we start to see evidence of that. We start to see evidence of them. We start to see evidence that, that we are powerful creators and that we do have the ability to hone our focus, to, you know, put our thoughts in a certain direction in order to show ourselves that we really are these powerful creators. Now, if you're new to this game, I'm just going to give you some basics, some real solid basics, because even if you're not new to this game, it's really easy to forget the basics, and it's really easy to forget that you are a creator and that you have this power to create. I put up a post this morning in the Live Life Golden page on Facebook about what's happening right now, what's happening in our world. I see people going spastic on social media. People are losing their ever loving minds right now. They're in a lot of resistance. They're creating a lot of angst. They're deciding to tune into a frequency of powerlessness, of not being able to go certain places or do certain things, or our health is at risk right now because of the things that are happening. And the truth is, the more that you listen to that stuff, the more that you allow that stuff into your energetic field, the more you're going to feel this disease. It's a disease. It's like dis-ease. Like, you're not going to feel the ease of life. You're not going to feel the flow of joy. You're not going to feel the possibilities and the opportunities that we have to be deliberate creators if you're too tuned into the opposite. If you're too tuned into the powerlessness or the ability that we have to decide for ourselves. If you're deciding certain things for yourself, that you can't go certain places and you can't do certain things, and your power has been taken away, then you're going to create more evidence of that. And as you create more evidence of that, you're going to be kicking and screaming the whole time. And when you're kicking and screaming and you're living in a lot of resistance, how fun do you think you are to be around? How fun do you think your social media posts are to read? How much goodness are you adding to the world? And I get it. I get it. There's a lot of things that I have had to train my focus away from in this last year, because there are things that go against my belief systems, that go against, for instance, this is one. And I'll just get into this really briefly because I don't want to get into like a big thing about it, but like, wearing a mask over your face when you're healthy. Like, to me, in the beginning, I was in so much resistance to that. Because I had a wound that I needed to heal, which would basically when I had something over my face when I was younger, there was a family member who used to try to suffocate me. And so when I have things over my face, I flip out. Like, you can ask my husband, if any time I feel like I have anything over my face, I flip out. So I was having like panic attacks from putting these things over my face. And, as the world turns, there really was not a lot you could do without covering your face. And also, it goes against the I am healthy. Like, I'm telling the world that I'm not healthy, that they can't trust my health, my well-being. And so that was really tough at first. And I was in a huge amount of resistance, like, whoo, so bad, to the point where I wasn't really going anywhere because of that. And then, as the mandates came or whatever, and we had to start wearing them more, I found ways around it. And one of those ways around it was to heal, to heal that part of myself. I still don't like things over my face, for sure. I can tolerate it a little bit more. So it did help that heal that. But I have a mask that's basically mesh, and you can't really tell, but it helps me to breathe, and it helps me not to freak out in the middle of a store. So that has been good. But if you're in a whole bunch of resistance, you can't move energy. We can't move energy into an optimal place when we're in all this resistance and we're fighting and kicking and screaming against things. If you're fighting against, you are in the direction of what you do not want. So we have to we have to stop that, first of all. We have to pull our attention away from all of that stuff. And for a little while, that meant me getting off of social media. I had to get off social media because there was just too much there, too much angst there, too much pain, too much resistance. That's what it is, really. It's just resistance. So, pulling away from those sites, pulling away from those, allowing things into your energy field, like the news and negative people and negative conversations, just creates and activates more of it. So we have to get really good and really diligent about what we allow in our energetic field and what conversations will entertain. It's okay to tell someone that you don't want to talk about something. My husband is really good at this. And we would do this often, like, okay, I don't want to talk about that anymore. If we even go into any of those discussions, within a few minutes, one of us will say, okay, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I mean, it doesn't make me feel good. And it's not about living in denial. This is not about living in denial. This is about deciding that you are a creator and that you are not going to let the world have its way with you, right? That you're not going to look at the world situation and say, my life is doom and gloom. Well, you're not going to do that. You're not going to look at the world and say, all of my freedoms are being taken away. Bullshit. All of your freedoms are not being taken away. You're giving them away by giving so much power to things that really don't matter in the end when you decide you are a deliberate creator. We don't have to do that anymore. This is a very interesting time in our lives where, there's certain people who believe certain things, and then there's other people who believe other things. And we have to decide what makes sense for us, because the truth is, to me, the truth is like circumstantial. It's like changes every day. Who do you want to believe? What makes sense to you? If you're not going within and getting your own answers and you're trusting everything out there, then you're doing yourself a great disservice, because we have to go within and decide what's right for us, and go within our hearts and see what's in there, see what our desires are, see what that life force is calling us to. What is the desires of your heart calling you to, So yesterday I had to go to the dentist. This was kind of a funny thing that happened. I've been having some dental stuff going on lately, and not for a really long time. And back in Connecticut, we had a wonderful cousin who basically took care of all of our dental needs for a long, long time. So that was wonderful. And now, in California, it's basically out of pocket. So that's been interesting. So I had a tooth removed a few months ago, and that was great, just great. And then yesterday, so I was going to the dentist yesterday, and I couldn't remember what I made the appointment for. I thought it was just a checkup for the tooth, just to make sure that everything was healing right. So I get in the chair and they're like, oh, yeah, you have a cleaning today. And then they're taking out 3 fillings and they're replacing them. And I was like, well, this was kind of cool to go to the dentist and like not have any anxiety or angst beforehand because I had no idea what I was going there for. So it was like a surprise. So I survived and I was fine. And I thought it was kind of funny that before things, before certain situations and circumstances, we work ourselves up, right? Like we get super anxious about it and we have worries and we have concerns and we kind of dread, right? Like, don't you dread going to the dentist? I do a little bit. I'm not going to lie. So to like just not have any of that, not have any of that angst or dread, I felt like, wow, I just saved myself so much energy, by not knowing what I was coming in here for. So that was kind of cool. How many things can we do that with? Like, how many things can you notice in your life experience that you're creating dread around? Or you're creating anxiety and worry around that in the end, when you look back, there was no need for it. There was no reason for it, right? So pay attention to that because there's ways in which you can interrupt those thoughts and not allow yourself to tune into those frequencies. And as you do that, like as you pull away from and interrupt, you need a meditation practice, people. I know I've been telling you this for a long, long time, but you need a meditation practice. If you actually want to gain any sort of control and you want to train your mind, you've got to stop. You got to stop the monkey mind. You got to stop the thoughts. You got to stop the addiction to your emotions. That's what meditation is going to give you. It's going to give you that space so that you will be able to start choosing and start deciding which frequency you want to be in. If you don't do that, you are totally a victim of creation. Like you're a victim of what's happening in your life experience. And you're going to be a super reactor. And when you're a super reactor and you're just kind of like flying off the handle at things, you don't have the power to create because then you're just coming from your wounds and you're just you're allowing life to have its way with you and you're not deciding how you want things to go. So then you can't show yourself that. You can't show yourself the evidence of honed focus or a honed belief system or deciding what you want to create. You don't show yourself that when you're, in the mess, in the muck, in the mire, as I called it this morning. When you're in the muck and the mire, you have no defense. You have no lifeline. You're just kind of flailing around, you're like a fish out of water, just like somebody save me, right? If you're living your life that way, I would go within and start asking why that is. Why is this victimhood mentality so important to me? Why am I holding on to it so strongly? So, why am I not allowing myself to see what a powerful creator I am? Some of us are scared to do it. Some of us are scared to step out of that victim mentality because it means we're going to have to take responsibility for our whole life. Whew. I had people a few years ago, we started this group in our living room and we wanted to teach people about the law of attraction. We wanted to teach people about prosperity. And, we started kind of with like a physical health thing where we were talking about diet and exercise and getting your thoughts right around that. And then it turned into kind of a whole lifestyle thing. And as we're sitting there and we're teaching, it was my husband and myself, we were teaching, about these laws of the universe and what happens and how we have to take responsibility for what we're creating. We had people crying, like not even, just totally surprised and really wigged out about the fact that they had created what they had created. And I'm like, you can't beat yourself up for what is if you didn't know. If you didn't know better and you're going to beat yourself up for that, you're just going to keep yourself where you are. You have to let it go. Let go of the past because what is right now is all that really matters. And what came before is just a product of the way you used to think. It's a product of the way you used to be. And as soon as this second right now, you can decide to be something else. You can decide to create a new identity. And it's not difficult. It takes focus. It's actually very simple, but most people have a hard time with it because of momentum, because they've got that momentum going in a certain direction. And in order to stop momentum, right? I mean, when you think about something, that starts out and then it gets faster, like think of a wheel and it gets faster and faster, or a snowball, right? And becomes huge. That's momentum. So we have to stop the momentum. And then we have to decide and start interrupting and creating something new from our full focus and attention. And then you have to pay attention to what's going on up here, because you've got all these neural pathways that are going to start calling you back. They're going to call you back to those old beliefs. They're going to call you back to those emotions that you've been addicted to. These things have chemical reactions in your body. Beliefs, feelings, judgments, all of them have chemical reactions, emotions, where they actually give you, rushes of dopamine or rushes of, certain chemicals that you have gotten addicted to, anger, adrenaline, all that stuff that you maybe have created some sort of identity around that. Like, this is who I am. This is what I do. I fight with my mother. That's who I am. It's been that way always for as long as I can remember. No, it doesn't have to be that way, though. You get to decide if you're ready to take on the identity of being a powerful creator, if you're ready to let go of that victim mentality, which keeps you sick, which keeps you broke, which keeps you in all the places you don't want to be, which keeps you in resistance to everything that's going on around you. So I've been talking a lot about the up level, and I just want to plug a little bit my new challenge in M21 Revolution, which is on Facebook. We have a Facebook group that we're opening up to everyone. We used to do these subscription challenges. Now we're doing just donation-based challenges. We have one launching May 1st. Super excited about it. It's with my partner, Jessica Mkowski. She is a triathlete. She is a yogi. She's got a lot of different ways of explaining what I explain. So it's cool because you get it from both sides. And some people really resonate what she says, and some people really resonate what I say. And I think it's just a really good mix, It's like a beautiful cake that we put together, and just add different ingredients to. So we're going to be launching that, and we're going to have this wonderful support group. We already have it, and we have hundreds of videos in there, guided meditations, emotional releases. And the challenge is so cool because it's very intuitively led by us. So it's like every day we get the information that you need to hear. I love it. It's absolutely so cool. So M21 Revolution, look for it on Facebook and invite your friends, because we're opening up the group to everyone. We're asking for a $50 donation or whatever your heart feels like giving. There has to be an exchange of energy if you want to be part of it and you really want it to create lasting change. It could be $5. It could be something you offer in the group. I don't know. Whatever is on your heart to do it, because the exchange of energy is all about value. It's what we value. It's what we decide is valuable. And we create from value. Whenever someone gives us something for free, oftentimes we don't value it because there was no value. There was no energy of exchange. And that's how we get into situations with people when they don't appreciate us. I used to do this with my kids all the time. And maybe you can relate to this if you're a parent, or even if you're in a relationship. This is really interesting. I would parent from my lack. So I would parent from what I wasn't giving. So I would overcompensate, and my husband would do this as well. Overcompensate for what we didn't get as children. And you see it all the time when you see people giving their kids too much and not creating boundaries and not allowing them to learn, and not allowing them to learn to be creators themselves by giving so much. And I realized that by overcompensating, by giving when they weren't even asking, I was creating resentments within myself. So that's a good thing to pay attention to in all of your relationships. Is there an exchange of energy? Are you just giving? Are you around a lot of, people who are just sucking your energy field and they're not really giving any kind of exchange of energy? Because if you are, that's worthy of going within and looking at. Why am I doing this? Why do I need the praise from this person? Or why do I need the acknowledgement of this person? Why am I doing what I'm doing for this person? Am I doing it just for the feeling that I'm a good person, or the feeling that, I want them to like me or to love me? Are you doing a lot of stuff like that? Because if you're just doing stuff out of that, you're coming from a lot of lack. And I don't feel like there's a lot of self-love under that. If you're really loving yourself, if you're really have connected with that piece of self-love, that unconditional love that you're an expression of, you won't just give exhaustively. You'll have some sort of boundaries around your own self-protection. This is not about being selfish, although the whole concept of being selfish is kind of hysterical if you think about it. It's like people call you selfish when you don't do for them, right? Like, who's selfish here? That makes no sense, right? Like, if you're deciding for yourself, like what's good for yourself, and not putting yourself in a deficit for other people, you're going to find yourself in wholeness. You're going to find yourself in lightheartedness. You're not going to feel so much overwhelmment or so much obligation. I hate obligation in relationships. I just feel like obligation is powerlessness. Oh, let me say that again. Obligation is powerlessness, because oftentimes obligation too is rooted in guilt. It's rooted in guilt. And it's not coming from a place of, do I really want this for myself? Do I really want to be doing this? So many times that I've done that, I've seen evidence that I shouldn't have done what I didn't want to do, what I should have said no to. It's like I've had evidence of that over and over again. So look at that life perspective, look at that relationship perspective when you're deciding about your relationships, because this really is about us standing more in our power. And if we're going to stand more in our power, then our relationships need to be balanced. We need to be in a beautiful place with everyone that we allow into our energetic field. And we need to be in a place where we don't feel all of this lack and angst and worry and, just doing things out of obligation. Okay. So that's one way to get to becoming more of a deliberate creator. It's deciding for yourself. It's pulling back a little bit. It's pulling your energy back a little bit so that you're not so scattered, so that you're not just giving, giving, giving. And you're starting to give from a place of wholeness. You're starting to love from a place of wholeness. I love knowing that, because I used to be very much a doormat. And I used to do a lot of things for a lot of different people. And, I did it in the Catholic guilt perspective, in like the serving perspective, and just allowed myself to be emptied out by everyone around me. So when you start to take that power back, then you're going to start to feel a lot more joy. And you're going to realize that you have the ability to do those things you've always wanted to do, to do those things that have been calling your heart for way too long, but you've had no energy left. You've had no time left. You've been exhausted because you're always doing for other people. You're always doing for everybody else. One other thing just popped up. I have no idea why or who it's for, but clearly it must be somebody who's listening or is going to listen, because nobody's listening right now. This is in regards to network marketing. So for those of you who don't know, I was in network marketing for 7 years. I was with a wonderful company. I loved the people that I was around. It was a great experience. I think it's the whole reason that I live in California right now, because it opened our eyes up to other places, to other people, to other possibilities, to opportunities. It also showed us, very much introduced us to law of attraction and showed us the evidence that we have to create. Oh, cool that this story came up, because I actually told someone I was going to share something about it. Okay, cool. All right. So if you're in network marketing, there is, I used to lose my mind. And this is why I had to stop doing network marketing. I think it's a cool business model. I think you can make a lot of money doing it. I did make a lot of money doing it. And I think, it's a good option for a lot of people. What I don't like about network marketing is that I would lose my mind. I would lose my authenticity. I would often do what I like to call courting people, where I would, kind of just show a lot of interest in them. And I always felt this like ulterior motive. And I hated that because it wasn't authentic to my soul. It really bothered me. And I don't know, and I'm sure there is, I just don't know how to do network marketing authentically. I just never figured it out. So I kind of just put it away because it wasn't something I wanted to explore anymore. So when when it came time to like really transition out of that, and I noticed what it was doing to my life experience and how I was creating from that, I needed to really look within because there was some ego stuff going on. We were on stage, it was so great, and everybody knew who we were. So there was that. There was like that fame, kind of thing. And the other piece of it was the challenges. Like they would put these challenges out and these promotions, and we would kill it like every time. So we became known as the people who would kill it. Now, this is like literally felt like I was selling my soul because I would call every single person I knew and I had no shame, just doing it shamelessly. Reaching out to people on Facebook I hadn't talked to or never talked to, was never friends with. I mean, just like so much stuff that I did that looking back, I'm like, that was a waste of energy. I mean, I would like meet someone in the parking lot and start talking to them. It was crazy to the point that I put myself in danger once, honestly. So if you're in that situation, really go within and ask yourself what you want and create a piece of paper around the frequencies that you want to be in. That's really, really valuable. The frequency of love, and the frequency of attraction, and the frequency of creating with a team of really solid people. Like put your intentions down for that. That's a really good idea. So one of the promotions, this is a story that I wanted to share that actually probably brought this whole thing up for us, because I don't know how many of you really care, but we'll see. One of the promotions was a trip to Hawaii. We had never been to Hawaii, but the interesting thing about this Hawaii trip, and I can't remember if this happened before or after they announced that there was going to be a trip to Hawaii. So when you're in network marketing, if you've never been in before, there's a certain amount of requirements, and then they will give you a trip. Usually when they give you that trip, it's like your room and um, that's about it. It's usually just like your room, and you have to pay for your flights and stuff. So I can't remember if it was before or after, but I remember my husband had put up pictures of Hawaii all over his office. They were like, we had like a slanted ceiling. We lived in like a really cool old house, and he had an attic office, and he put all these pictures up. So every day, we both would see these pictures and think about Hawaii and think about how awesome that would be to go. And, just started to formulate, started to activate the energy, started to believe, that it was going to happen. Like, oh, like the possibilities. We didn't get too caught up in the fact that we had no freaking money at that point. Like we had no money. Like we had no business traveling at that point in our lives. And we did a lot of things, a lot of crazy ass things in that network marketing company, like sell our TV. I remember one convention in particular. We were at the convention and they were repossessing my husband's truck at that time. And we didn't give a shit. We were like, we're doing this. We're creating this. We've got a light at the end of the tunnel. Like it gave us so much to hold on to in a time that was so difficult and challenging. So I remember they put out this challenge and we were both like, oh, it's going to be so great. It's going to be so great. Like we didn't even give 1 second to how it was going to happen, or one, millisecond to how are we going to pay for our flights? Because we had no credit cards. All of our credit cards have been taken away from us. We went through bankruptcy, the whole thing. So we just kept telling everyone we were going to Hawaii. Like, we're going. Like, we knew we were going. I didn't have money to pay for a babysitter. I had no idea how any of this was going to happen. We didn't have money to pay for food there. It was crazy. So 3 weeks before, and it's funny because I know I've mentioned this book before, and we were in the middle of reading this book together. I was like reading it to my husband on the way to a meeting or something. And it was the one from Randy Gage. And it was When You're Dumb, Sick, and Broke, How to Get Rich, Healthy, and Smart. And I was reading from that book, and all of a sudden I got a text message from a guy who, crazy, who said, I want to pay for your flights to Hawaii. And he had no idea that we didn't even have plane tickets yet. And he was a super wealthy guy that was in our company. We were not in his line or anything. He was just this wonderful man who appreciated our story every week, who appreciated what we were going through. And he offered to pay for our flights. And we were both just completely blown away. And that was the flight that was the first time I ever set foot in California and like felt with every fiber of my being that I needed to live here. And it was raining. It wasn't even. And my husband said, I don't even really like it there, you know? So we had spent a day here, flew to Hawaii. And, you know, it took 4 more years before we formulated that plan. But the important thing to understand in that story is we didn't try to figure out the how. We just set a very strong intention. We were excited about it. We believed in it. We had no idea how it was going to happen. And when we first started talking about Hawaii, there was no trip to Hawaii. So it literally began in the beginning phases and it unfolded over time. And we had an amazing time. And then when we got to Hawaii, people were paying for our dinners. Somebody paid for us to go horseback riding. That was so cool. Oh, that was like such an amazing, incredible, miraculous thing that happened. And we get to the horse place, and my horse is blonde, of course, right? I knew I was going to get that horse, and the horse's name is Freedom. And my spirit animal is a horse because I love your spirit animal is whatever animal you're really super attracted to that you're just really in love with and it shows up a lot in your life. And freedom is actually the definition of the spirit animal of a horse. It's feeling freedom. And I need to feel free in my life. That's why I don't like masks because I need to feel free. So that was amazing. So that was an incredible trip that we had. And to manifest stuff like that, it really is getting out of the hows. It's getting yourself into the why. It's getting yourself into feeling the energy of it, activating the frequency of it. Right now, we're watching a lot of shows like Caribbean Life and Mediterranean Life because we want to see what else is out there, but also to start activating that, you know? This past weekend, we went to Catalina. It was my husband's birthday. We had so much fun. And all of a sudden, we're both like, we need a golf cart because the golf carting was so much fun. It was just such a blast to just, it felt like freedom. It really did to just have the doors open and just see this beautiful land and the ocean and everything like this. This trip was like it was such an up level. Like it was just so, everything just felt so good about it. And we're watching this Caribbean Life on TV, and this girl is in Exuma, Bahamas, and we're both like, oh wow, we could totally live there. Like, and that's how they get around on golf carts. So I'm like, hello. So that just activated a new life force, right? A new desire in us. So right before we left for Catalina, I had posted, if you didn't see on my Facebook page, on the Live Life Goldyn page. And if you're not a part of that, please ask to join because it's a super fun page and it's where I put all of my inspirations. And you know, soon enough, I may not put them on my regular page. I'm not sure. We'll see. But anyways, so I put up that I got a new car. So actually, the gentleman who paid for our trip to Hawaii also offered us his Mercedes. This was like maybe 8 years ago to drive because his friend had won a car at this convention and they were going to drive it home. And he asked us if we could take his Mercedes home from the airport. It was an E350. And he was allowing us to drive it for the whole week. And that was when my love of Mercedes started. Like, talk about hugging the road. Luxury. It's just such a beautiful car. And I fell in love. And it took me, let's see, it was 8 years ago. So it probably took me a good 5 years to actually believe that I could create this and manifest driving a Mercedes. And if you haven't read my book yet, Quantum Speak, it's on Amazon or on my website, Live Life Goldyn. There's the whole story of how my Mercedes came to be and how, that is a super cool story. I'm not going to share that story, but I am going to share what happened to me the other day because I leased my car for 4 years. And when I leased my car, they give you a certain amount of mileage. And I thought to myself, the mileage isn't going to matter. So I just let it go because we like to travel. We like to drive. we're almost 6 years here in California. So we like to go a lot of places in California that are far. And I don't want to have to think about that. I don't want to have to worry about that, right? That may be irresponsible to you. You may think this girl is crazy and she wastes money. But honestly, I just believed that something would happen and it wasn't going to be a big deal. So my lease isn't up until next June. So I have a whole year. And the guy had told me, you can turn it in a little bit early and you'll probably be okay. So I get a prompting the other day, these intuitions that you get. And I answer my intuition because I'm a meditator and my intuition's pretty loud. So I got this intuition to call Mercedes and just see what your mileage was and see how bad this is, like see how many miles over you are. So I call and my mileage was 40,000. They had given me 40,000 and I'm at 50,000 and I still have another year and 2 months to go. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just trying to figure out like what I could do about this. Like, should I put some mileage in my payment? And the girl says to me, she goes, well, actually, this week we're doing a buyback event. Now, she could have been making that up, but I don't care. And she's like, why don't you come in and see if there's something we can do for you as far as buying back your lease? And then, you can get a new car because we're low on inventory right now. So I'm like, of course, of course. So I make an appointment the next day. And I knew that I was going to get in a new car. I just knew it. I had already ramped up this desire like maybe like a year ago or 8 months ago. I had seen there's a new body style. It's an SUV, 350. And I was like, I would love that. Like, I just love new cars. I love luxury. I just love it. Like, I can't explain the desire to you. You can think I'm materialistic. I really don't care. The fact of the matter is this is what I love. This is my desire. This is life force being called through me. So I go down there and I had already intended that I was going to get this amazing car salesman. And I ended up getting a different one than I was supposed to. And I knew that was going to happen. So I had this wonderful man, Daniel, who's from Italy, and we just hit it off. Like, we had instant rapport. And that's how I felt with my last guy. And I had, for like the next 2 hours, the most fun at that Mercedes dealership. And I shifted everyone around me because I was just excited. And, I had my number. I knew what my number was. I knew what I wanted my number to be. And they met me there. And it was, and I called my husband. And that was another thing that I really cleaned up was, the idea of like not feeling guilty, of not feeling shame, of not feeling like, I'm doing something wrong. I just let all of that go. And it was so much ease and so much flow. And when I tell you this new car is like, it's so extra. Like, there's colors in it. There's like a whole wheel of colors so I can have a different color every day of my lights and the radio and the cameras. And it's the safest SUV like on the planet. Brake assist. You put your foot under the back door and it opens. Just everything. It's everything. And it smells amazing. And the interior is beautiful. And it was like exactly what I wanted. So if there's things in your life that you are keeping yourself from, if there's things that you're in resistance to, I had a belief for a long time about that Mercedes that I couldn't afford one, that I couldn't have one. That's a powerless position to be in. And I had to, with the car that I ended up getting was an Infinity, which my payment was the same as a Mercedes. So if I had just believed that, if I had believed I was worthy, if I believed that I deserved it, I didn't feel aligned with it. I didn't feel in alignment with a Mercedes at that point. We were just coming out of our financial struggle. I wasn't feeling worthy. So what are you keeping yourself from? What are you feeling unworthy about? What can you stand in the place of and say, yes, this is what I want. And it's okay to want that. And it's okay to let that life force create through me. And there's nothing stopping me except for me. I'm the only one stopping me. I'm the only one in resistance and the only one that's creating these thoughts, these beliefs, and these judgments around my dreams that are keeping me from creating them. So what is it? Where is the resistance? Where does it come from? Is it fear? Is it fear in your heart that you feel afraid that you won't succeed, that you'll fail? Well, I'm going to tell you something about failure. When we first moved to California and we couldn't pay our rent, there was a couple of times we had some challenges around rent that just showed us how freaking powerful we are and how whatever it is, we're going to get through it and we're going to come out even better, even stronger, even more expanded. We had a saying and it was, we've come too far to fail. And that just meant that we were never going to give up. And that's the thing about people's fear of failure. If you have a strong resolve, if you have decided in your life experience that you are going to create something, you cannot fail. There's no such thing as failing, because in order to fail, you have to stop. You have to lay down and die. And if you're following this podcast, you're probably not that type of person. You're probably the type of person who's going to give it your all, who's going to set your intentions, who knows how to work from your energetic field, who knows that intention and energy is way more powerful than any outside action you can do, than any kind of physical action you can create from. So let's up level. Let's up level together. If you're interested in up leveling, if you want to explore a meditation practice, which if you're listening to my podcast and you're not meditating, I'm not going to say you're wasting your time. I'm going to say you could be making better use of your time by having a meditation practice and to start formulating and activating that energy and intention from down deep, from a place where you create from. Because this is the thing. If you're not dealing with your shit, if you haven't gone in and figured out why you have triggers, if you haven't gone in, if you're, drinking and eating and smoking and doing all sorts of things so you don't deal with your feelings that are really underneath, you're still going to create from them. You're still going to vibrate from all that shit that you've been trying not to deal with. So why not deal with it? Why not uncover it? Why not release it, cleanse your life from it, and start creating from your power, where you are a deliberate creator and you get the ability to hone your focus and become more. Okay, so when it comes to a meditation practice, I always offer the suggestion of 10 to 20 minutes. 20 minutes is great because it usually takes you like 5 to 7 minutes to get in. And it's about quieting your mind. So you're focusing on your breath. It's allowing your mind to go blank, like a blank slate, like there's nothing else there. And then it's just allowing all of that energy to unfold, to uncover. So you may have emotions that come up. You may have memories that come up. You may have, things that you didn't want to deal with that come up. It's just a breathing process and you're just going to breathe through it. And as you breathe through it, you're actually releasing it. And I always ask for the release, I'll ask non-physical assistance for the release. We've got all this non-physical evidence around us, like energies around us, and most of us are not inviting them in. And I'll get a little woo-woo on you because I'm all about the angels. Like I am all about inviting angels in because I know without a shadow of a doubt that they're around me, and I call on them all the time. And I call in funky ways. Like I used to call on them when I was braiding hair. Oh, braiding hair angels. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you, it would help. I used to have to braid like 4 to 6 children's heads like on Saturdays because we would have dance competitions. And this was not French braiding that I was used to. This was the Dutch braid, which is the other way. So I had to train my brain to flip the braid inside out. And these were children that were not my children. So I had to make it look really good. And could create a lot of angst and stress and anxiety. But instead, I would call in my angels and they would assist me. I call in angels to find things all the time. And my kids, it's funny because my kids will lose things and I'll say, did you ask your angels? And they'll be like a couple minutes later, oh, I found it. No. And I was like, well, I did. I did it for you. My husband wasn't feeling great today. He was low energy. So I told him I was sending him the angels of energy. Like, invite it in. This past weekend when we went to Catalina, the forecast was crap. Like California is beautiful, but lately it's just been cloudy. Like we get times, believe it or not, when the sun doesn't shine and I am actually very I hate the word spoiled, but I am very I optimize all the sunshine. Really love sunshine, and coming from the East Coast where it would not be sunny for 3 months, I have a little bit of PTSD where I just don't really enjoy that. I really need the sun to shine. I also have like head issues when there's a lot of barometric low pressure. So the forecast was cloudy, and my husband was like, I don't care. I just want to get away. It doesn't even matter. And the cool thing about cloudy days when you're on vacation is it gives you a chance to rest. Like it gives you almost the permission to just relax and nap and read. And I finished a whole book, which was really cool. But it was funny because it was his birthday and the sun was shining like the first morning, and then that pretty much the rest of that afternoon was super cloudy, and then his birthday, it was cloudy in the morning, so he napped, and I read a book and we relaxed, but we had plans to go hiking, and I was just like, okay, sun angels, like we need some sun for this man's birthday. Like he just, throw some sun out here. And in the middle of our hike, the sun came out and it was amazing. It was so beautiful. And the night was really warm and beautiful. And then the next morning, the sun shined all day, like all day long, just beautiful sun. And it literally on the weather forecast, I wish I had taken a picture of that. It was just a cloud. Like there wasn't even sun on the side of the cloud. It was supposed to be cloudy all day. So I was like, thank you, sun angels. But when I asked for the sun, I didn't have resistance around it. I wasn't like, oh, the sun has to shine. Oh, it's his birthday. Come on. I was like, thank you for the sunshine. Like the sun's going to shine because I just trust and believe and I have faith in this non physical counterparts. And I know that when I invite the angels in, they're there. Like they're ready and waiting for us to call them in. Parking spots. Oh man, if you guys are not using this for parking spots, and I'll be totally honest with you, Michael is better at this than I am. My husband is really good at this. Like he has before we leave for somewhere, he's already setting intentions for the parking spot. Like he already sees it opening up. He's already visualizing. And I'm just like 5 minutes before I get there, parking angels, get me a spot. you know? And they deliver. They absolutely deliver. Sometimes I get a little anxious about it. It's like one of those things that I still need to clean up, but for the most part, it's like I always get the best parking. One of my other beliefs that I run all the time is I'm always on time. I'm always there in perfect timing. So even if the clock says I'm 5 minutes late, I always show up when that person is just showing up. Like it's perfect timing. So it's all about your intention and your belief coming in, right? Like it's pre-paving the energy for what you're looking to create. It's getting ahead of it all. Instead of just letting life have its way with you, like showing up somewhere where it's really crowded. I have seen so many times that we are in a long ass line of people that are driving around circling. I mean, we live in California. The beach parking here is bonkers, especially in the summer. I have seen 10 people in front of my husband, and right where we are, a person will start to back out and then we can pull right in. It's happened so many times. Seriously. It's like so much evidence of it. I think it's ridiculous that I ever doubt it, but I am human, just like all of you. So yeah, parking spots, anything you're looking for, anything that's lost, if you get out of the vibration of something being lost, you will get into the frequency of finding it. So you have to get out of that vibration of it's lost forever, that brokenheartedness, that, oh my God, I can't believe I lost it, and step into that faith and that knowing that you're going to find it. I actually did that with a diamond ring once. My engagement ring had fallen out of the prongs, and I looked down, I was like, wow, my diamond's gone. And I was like, I'm going to find it. And it could have been anywhere. Like I literally didn't even know where I dropped it. And I ended up finding it in my dining room, like under a piece of furniture. So I didn't believe it was lost. I knew I was going to find it. And that's happened with several things over the course of days. Like my daughter at one point had lost her iPod. And, when iPods, this is quite a few years ago when iPods were cool and yeah, people carried those. She lost it in a department store or like a TJ Maxx or something. And we went to the front and we asked, and nobody had turned it in. And like, what's the chances somebody's even going to turn that in, right? And we were like, kind of like in an inner city in Connecticut. And we both just trusted. I kept saying to her, I'm like, baby, if you just trust that we're going to find it, we're going to find it. And it was like 3 days later that they called that it was there. like, what? But that showed me that even over those 3 days, our faith didn't waver. And so it was found. So anything you're looking to create, you have this non-physical support. You have the ability to create it. You just have to believe it. You got to believe it, and you got to stand in the frequency of it. And the way to do that and create from that identity is to let go of all the shit, let go of all the lack, let go of the resistance, shift the energy field in your favor by no longer taking part in that emotional field that is keeping you apart from it. Because if you really felt like you were going to have it, if you were really excited about it, if you really felt no angst about it, if you really had a mind that didn't talk you out of the things that you want to create, you would have it. You would absolutely have it. So if you want to hear more about that, read my book, Quantum Speak. If you've already read it, read it again. If you've read it again, flip it open. I love doing that with books. Just flip it open, see what the universe has to say to you on a particular day, because these lessons, these things that I'm talking about are very, very easy to forget, right? They're like universal truths that are deep within us that we have to go within to create from. And then it's very easy to forget. It's very easy to go back to sleep. I've seen a lot of people with this new contrast of the world go back to sleep. It's like they were starting to wake up, they were starting to know their power, and then they saw what happened in the world and they thought, I have no control over anything. I have no say in anything. I have no power in anything. And it's sad, but it's part of their growth and expansion. It's part of what will help them to reawaken in a new place. And it's part of what will help them to expand and grow. So it's important to love each other and accept each other where we are, because we're all on different paths. We're all in different places on our path. And as we love and accept one another and have this beautiful compassion and acceptance, our world will just be a better place. And wouldn't that be great if our world was just a better place? Like if our world was just getting better and better and better, wouldn't that be great? Instead of believing that our world is getting worse and worse and worse. And the only way we can see the world getting better and better and better, and the only way that we can answer the question of what can I do about anything, is by taking life and creating it. Taking it, deciding what we want to create, and showing ourselves through the outside physical evidence that we are powerful beings and we have the ability to create our own realities. Awesome. All right. I love you guys. Peace out. Take good care of yourself.